Cooks is on to the next. His career took him to New Orleans with stops in New England and LA, and now Houston, where he'll add Deshaun Watson to the list of quarterbacks he's played with. Our James Palmer caught up with Cooks to get some thoughts on his new quarterback.
Where were you when you saw the kick to the eye touchdown, and what's your recollection of that? And kind of what about Deshaun that you've had these meetings with him now that kind of sticks out to you that he is kind of something special?
Yeah, to answer your question, I didn't know about the kick to the eye until we were watching film a couple of days ago, actually.
Okay.
Which was obviously impressive. That goes to show that he's a tough guy and he's a warrior. And no matter what's going on, as long as the play alive, he's never going to stop. And then just what I felt from him right off the back, I got to tell you, this guy's smart. Hearing the questions that Coach asks him in these meetings and how quick he's able to just fire off the answers. It's really impressive. Really, you think as a young guy that will struggle with some of that, but I got to tell you, he's right on the money every single time a question's being asked, and that says a lot, especially at the quarterback position.
And you have to like the way he throws a deep ball.
No doubt, I like the way he throws every ball. yeah. I look forward to that.
What is going on in Houston, Texas? It is Friday, and as you guys know, earlier this week we had a press conference with Tim Kelly, the offensive coordinator, his second year as the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans, and there was quite a bit of interesting answers that Tim Kelly gave us. Now, compared to the Anthony Weaver press conference, I was not as excited just hearing him talk. He seems like a very smart guy, but just like O'Brien, they feel like they're the smartest person in the room, and that's kind of how he came off to me. But nonetheless, he did give you hints and pretty much let you know what this offense will be about going into the 2020 NFL season, and we'll definitely be reacting to that. One of the things that you guys know about Tim Kelly is, like I said, this is his second year going into play calling. One of the things that he mentions in his press conference is that his first year, there was a lot of adjustments that he had to do, and he relied heavily on Bill O'Brien. One of the things and rumors that have been surfaced out there has been that apparently not only did Tim Kelly help with establishing the game plan, and that game plan was practiced all week, but apparently Bill O'Brien was not a fan of it. And come Friday or Thursday, I believe, he would make changes to the game plan. Now, I don't know if he threw all the plays away, but look, there's definitely been a lot of inconsistency when it comes to the Texans and this offense. Now, some of it has been barring injury. Of course, you've had injuries with Will Fuller. You've had injuries with Kenny Stills. You've had injuries with QT. QT has been held out. You've had injuries with tight ends. But now you're going into a full season where you have added Randall Cobb, you've added Brandin Cooks, you have obviously your other wide receivers coming back with the exception of DeAndre Hopkins. On top of that, you've drafted wide receiver, you picked up a wide receiver undrafted, who actually I think is pretty good, could be a return man, to be honest with you. His tape is pretty good. His name is Simmons, I believe. And, you pretty much have stacked on offense, and now you're saying, okay, Tim Kelly, you have the full reins. Go out there and make Deshaun Watson shine and make this offense, I want to say, one of the top 10 offenses. Can he do that this upcoming season? We'll definitely be in tune for that. We'll definitely be watching. We'll definitely be reacting to that. But nonetheless, let me not go on my rants. Let me not continue to talk. And let's get right into this interview, man. Off the bat, Pancake's asking a question to who I am brand naming Tiny Timmy, only because he relied on Bill O'Brien for play calling. And at times, when you saw him, for instance, against the Falcons, I didn't complain about that game plan. When you look at games like against the Patriots, I didn't complain about that game plan. So apparently those are the two games where Bill O'Brien had nothing to do with and happened to be one of our two best games of the season. So I'm looking forward to this guy being allowed to manage more and really go through his hard times where he has to adjust, where he has to grow, where he has to stretch. I think you as a parent, when you're raising up a child, yes, when they're small, you have to watch out for them for certain things and look out for them because there's things that they can't do themselves. But it comes a time and day when you decide to release them, and when you release them, you truly got to entrust in what you've taught them and what you've shown them. And look, if they need advice, they're going to come and ask because, like he did last year, there was times where he needed help. But Bill O'Brien, you have to let this man go through the hills and valleys of the play calling, of being the offensive coordinator. And like he put it, he wants to see eye and eye with his QB1. He wants to see eye and eye with Deshaun Watson and see what he sees and make his adjustments and play calling according to that. Now, if this truly does happen and he begins to do that, man, will we have an explosive offense, and man, we're all here for it. But let's get right into it.
What's it going to be like calling plays without Hopkins, but having the additions of Brandin Cooks, Randall Cobb, and David Johnson?
I think when you look at the people that we have in our offensive unit room right now, there's been a lot of explosive players there for us. Okay, guys that have unique skill sets, guys that are experienced, and guys that have produced at a high level, in this league. So, it's a exciting thing to be able to kind of sit back and watch those guys kind of come together throughout this virtual off season and learn the offense and kind of come together as one unit.
Now, off the bat, man, they ask him, hey, what do you think of your additions? What do you think, basically about your year? And he goes off and says, look, it's very important to have veterans. I think Bill O'Brien said it in their ticket holder meeting with Cal. They talked about the moves that they've been making, the moves that they will be making in the future. At that time, I don't think we had picked up Brandin Cooks, or maybe we had. But they talked about having veterans and how they didn't believe that because of everything that's going on with this pandemic, they would be able to just rely on drafting wide receivers. Ultimately, I'm split between that because you had a very deep wide receiver class, a very good wide receiver class, and at the end of the day, like even with the guy you end up drafted, Coulter, like Aaron Parker on that same team was a better wide receiver. So, like even with that, you still didn't make, to me, the best evaluation with that. But he talks about, them being veterans and knowing them basically their way around the league, knowing what it takes to win. And yes, Brandin Cooks has gone to 2 Super Bowls, but he hasn't won any. Yes, Randall Cobb has played with Aaron Rodgers, but can they both be reliable? Can they truly be those leaders that the Houston Texans are really relying on them to be? And how does that mesh with Deshaun Watson when everything that's happened in this offseason? I think that's the biggest question, and I think that's what everyone's been looking at. Look, I've honestly have only seen Deshaun Watson work out with Fuller and Kenny Stills. Other than that, man, besides Brandin Cooks going on NFL Network and talking about watching tape and having meetings with Deshaun Watson, obviously Deshaun Watson's not going to skip a meeting. But the fact that they haven't got together on their own, you just saw Tom Brady begin to, get his wide receivers and his tight ends on the field. Even his backup quarterback was out there. I ended up tagging Deshaun Watson on Twitter to say, hey, man, what's going on? Let's, when is this going to happen? Because in Texas, we've been more open than I think in any other state. And I think the limit is still 8 people. So that's enough to get out there and put in some work. So I don't really know what the disconnect is there. Maybe it's because Brandin Cooks is not in Houston. Not too sure about that. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But just one of the questions that I still have unanswered.
Hey, Coach. Anthony Weaver the other day said progress was really good with these Zoom meetings and teaching installs and everything because you really can get into a lot of the details because this is all that you've got. Do you feel similarly, especially working with so many new parts to your offense?
Yeah, sure, Adam. I think, anytime, if you have the opportunity to get your hands on them and then be able to get them on the grass, I think you'd rather do that, obviously. With being able to allow those players, those new pieces, to kind of build that chemistry, on the grass. But as far as what we're able to do throughout these Zoom meetings, it's really kind of a unique deal, right? Because everybody seems to be more comfortable in front of a screen, whether it's in front of their phone or their tablet or their computer. So the communication that's going on right now between our players, between one another, between coach to player, player to coach, has really been encouraging. So while you're able to kind of dive into those details and really, I know we said get into the graduate level portion of it. I think you always really want to be able to get your hands on and be able to use the grass. But for our guys to be able to come in here and approach this offseason the way they have in such an uncertain time, it's really been encouraging.
So obviously he points out, like, look, hey, Zoom meetings is great and all. It really has opened up the line of communications. The guys have welcomed it with open arms. They've adjusted. They've been, pretty good at being able to learn this new way, especially, just kind of being thrown out there, really, didn't really expect that coming into this offseason. But still, he talks about the fact that it's so important to actually also have them out on the grass and have them build that chemistry. So again, my uncertainty about why hasn't this happened with the Houston Texans yet. I've seen Justin Reed. They've been at least weightlifting with some of the defensive guys. And I think the only offensive guys that I saw there was Jordan Thomas, Gillespie, and I can't remember. I think that's pretty much it. And so, and Brian Anger was the punter. He was there. So I'm still thinking, like, what is going on, right? Like, why can't we organize this with our wide receivers and get out there working? And like I said, I might be speaking too soon, excuse me. I might be reaching. But look, when you want to be great and when you have so many weapons, like, you shouldn't, like, that should be like automatic, right? Nobody should have to be wondering why it isn't happening. So.
Hey, Tim. Congratulations on now being the primary play caller. You've been working with OB for a while now. What is that experience like for you to now take to the level of calling the plays? And what do you envision for the offense? As John asked about DeAndre Hopkins and him being traded to the Cardinals with kind of distribution of targets, what do you envision in terms of the offense? And what's it like to replace a player like DeAndre and not have him?
I think anytime you take the field with multiple weapons, multiple guys who can hurt a defense at a variety of different levels, not just necessarily deep, short, or intermediate, but really be able to threaten every aspect of the field, it's a good thing. So, as far as being able to attack the defenses and really, as each opponent kind of presents its own issue, but really being able to take advantage of different matchups throughout the entire field and not necessarily one player. It's an encouraging thing. We've got a great quarterback, a guy who's going to be able to distribute the ball, and again, get the ball to the guys that are winning. And we've got guys who've won consistently for a long time, scattered throughout that room. You look at Brandin, you look at Randall, you look at Will and Kenny, obviously, with the production they had last year. Kiki, DeAndre Carter, Stephen Mitchell made some big plays, okay? Obviously those are guys that have produced and that are coming in, with a great mindset, but with a chip on their shoulder and are working hard every day to make sure they're on the same page with the coaching staff and making sure they're on the same page.
I think, first of all, I want to tell you that Stephen Mitchell did not have a catch in 2019. So Coach Tim Kelly, I expect you to be smarter than that and understand that the last time you used Stephen Mitchell was actually when you were so depleted on the wide receiver, and that was in 2018. Second, when you talk about being able to spread the ball and being able to go short and intermediate and long and all this type of run route trees that you have. Listen, you had that with Deshaun Watson. You had that with Kenny Stills. You have that with Will Fuller. The problem has been, obviously, that Will Fuller has been hurt. And when Will Fuller has been there, Kenny Stills went down. QT was in the doghouse. He apparently had some sophomore slumps. So I don't buy the whole, with now us sending DeAndre Hopkins out and bringing in these two other guys, we can truly now spread the ball, because I think that the ability to spread the ball has always been there. But here's the thing with Deshaun Watson. And here's the thing with every quarterback. I hate the fact that they make it seem like it's just Deshaun Watson that's zeroing in on DeAndre Hopkins. I've seen so many people comment stupid things on my channel, on other people's channel, talking about Deshaun Watson now going to shine better because DeAndre Hopkins is not there. We've talked about that. There's catches that DeAndre Hopkins has done, like sliding catches, that no other wide receiver is going to even attempt, because they don't even slide to catch anything. So don't tell me that it was because Deshaun Watson was zeroing in on DeAndre Hopkins, because that's not true. There's been like moments here and there. Like in 2018, I think him and Fuller had this thing going where in every game that they've played together, Will Fuller was catching a touchdown from Deshaun Watson. You saw what Deshaun Watson was doing with Bruce Ellington, and how much he liked Bruce Ellington in the slot, and how much he was starting to lean on Bruce Ellington on third downs and converting. So Deshaun, look, every quarterback is going to begin to trust one wide receiver more than the other. Look at Tom Brady. Look how many times he would try to count on either Edelman or Gronkowski. They were literally winning games with just those two. And then from time to time, they would throw to Amendola. So don't sit here and tell me that Deshaun Watson is not going to eventually favor a wide receiver and light that target among any other targets and begin to zero in on that wide receiver, because he will. When you have a dependable wide receiver who is going to convert, who is going to catch everything you throw at them, that quarterback is going to throw it to that wide receiver. I don't care if he is a 7th rounder or a 1st rounder. It's going to happen.
Hey, Tim. Hope all is well with you and your family. You're now in the quarterback room. Can you talk about how that transition is going with you, not only calling the plays, and also, do you feel like the personnel is being better adjusted to Deshaun Watson's skill set this season with the new additions? I think it's the.
Notice how he had flustered right there. So D-Stat asked him, like, hey, do you think there's going to be adjustments now that you've brought in weapons that complement Deshaun Watson? Notice that was perfectly placed and the perfect time to ask that, because they just finished asking him about DeAndre Hopkins, and he just finished answering that now they had the ability to not just depend on one player. So now D-Stat comes back and basically tells him, okay, so now that you've put all these pieces around Deshaun Watson, how do you see the adjustments to make this offense happen according to what you're saying didn't happen when you had DeAndre Hopkins? Hell of a question.
Adjustment, if you will, to being in the quarterback room. I spent a lot of time in that room last year, working with closely with Deshaun and AJ and Alex and Coach Carl Smith. So there's not really too much of an adjustment that's going on with that. And yeah, I think Deshaun's obviously excited to get to work with these guys and see what they can do once they can all get together.
Here's one thing also to notice, like the Carl Smith, he was our QB coach last year. Now this year they've made him, I think, offensive assistant. So I don't know if they gave him a promotion in order to keep him here or what. But he needs to continue to be the whisperer for Deshaun Watson, because he came from coaching Russell Wilson. So hey, whenever you have a coach that understands what it is to prolong plays, to keep plays going when it should have already been down, that's a great addition, and I hope that they truly are using that asset and not just asking for his opinion whenever they want to hear it, and not when he's ready to give it.
Hey Tim, congratulations on on getting the promotion to call plays. What was it about last season, and what your role is last season, and how it's changing this season that changed or helped prepare you to be able to call plays in 2020?
Yeah, I think anytime you're doing something for the first time, there's going to be some form of learning process. So last year, being in the offensive coordinator position, for the first time, it was the first time I'd done it. So I was learning something from OB every week, every game, every day we were in there. So being able to take those lessons and make sure that we're able to improve in certain areas, as we move forward here was a good thing.
So again, like we said in the beginning of this video, he talked about how his first year there were things that he needed help with, and he leaned on O'Brien. I hope that's over with. I hope that O'Brien truly is allowed to be the coach of this team, to focus on things like he always suffers, which is like dealing with timeouts. Now he doesn't have to worry about challenges because they've taken that away. When it comes to pass interference, you can no longer challenge the ruling on the field. So that's one thing less for O'Brien to worry about, but he should worry about clock management. He should worry about the team and what the team needs at that particular moment. And I hope that he truly does allow Tim Kelly to grow and stretch himself. Look, is he going to go 16-0? No. Is his play calling going to be perfection, immaculate to the point where they can't stop Deshaun Watson on any drive? No. But you have to allow him to adjust. You have to allow him to grow. And that is what all the fans of the Houston Texans are hoping that you do. Now, will he do it? That's another question.
Hey, Tim, a couple questions. What are your expectations for wearing this coming season? And you talk about the significance of having your O-line back intact, all your starters.
Sure, Mark. Starting with Kahale, he's doing a good job, as they all are, right? That entire room, with Akins and Jordan Thomas and Fells and Kahale, they're doing a great job coming here and working with Coach Will Long and making sure that they're on top of it. So the expectation for Kahale is for him to be on top of this game mentally when he comes in, just like all of them, and be able to compete, for a spot once we get on the grass. As far as the offensive line, it's really, I believe, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the first time that we've had all 5 starters back since we've been here. So, that position especially, there's a lot of chemistry that goes into playing that position, of playing next to one another, how certain people are going to handle certain blocks and how it's going to feel and the different responses and reactions that you get. And I'm sure Coach Dev will be able to get into that, in depth with you if you'd like. But having all 5 of those guys back is vital. It's a good thing, and it's something that we're definitely excited for.
Now, what I find interesting there is he talks about Kahale Warren, right? As you guys know, he was IR stash. He went out with an injury last year. Look, the guy's tape for college it gets you excited, right? You also got to remember what school he went to, right? What competition that he truly have. Like, those are the things that you have to look at. Now, one of the things that I felt that was ridiculous is some of his highlight tapes, they were saying he was the next Gronk. Like, size-wise, I get what you're saying. I just don't see it when I look at the tape. At best, what you have there is flashes of Travis Kelce. At best, honestly. And, with him not really being able to get on the field, he didn't get experience. So everything that he does this year is going to be fresh for him. It's going to be new for him, and he's going to have to get experience. Now, I'm not sure if the order of how he names it. I think he goes Waring, Akins, Jordan Thomas, and then he goes Darren Fells. I don't know if that order that he named them is based on his preference of tight ends. As you guys know, Tim Kelly was our tight ends coach, right? So one of the things that we saw last year, I think we did see a lot of more tight end targets. That was Darren Fells, I think, had a breakout year for his career. On top of that, we were able to re-sign him. Don't particularly agree on the numbers for him, but maybe he had other options. Maybe there were other offers and decided to keep him. One of the things that you must know about the tight ends on this team is that both O'Brien and Tim Kelly are looking for tight ends that are going to help block when they are called to do so, and they need to be able to do so. So, a lot of people have us cutting one of our tight ends this season. I don't think so. I think we're going to go with all 4 tight ends in this NFL 2020 season. And I think we're going to make cuts elsewhere. Because you have Kahale Warren, who's really truly going to have his first year on the field. You have Jordan Thomas and Jordan Akins. Jordan Thomas also was injured, so he didn't really have an opportunity to build from his rookie year. He didn't have a bad rookie year either. And then on top of that, Darren Fells, I'm not sure how long the contract was, maybe a year or 2 years. So, if anything, to me, the odd man out, if they had to cut someone, is probably going to be Jordan Thomas, just because, the upside to him, right? He's already played one season, but then he got hurt. And then everyone else, they haven't really had the true opportunity. They love Akins. We love what Akins does. He's a good blocker for them, so I don't think Akins is going nowhere. They've already given Darren Fells a contract, so he's not going anywhere this year. So between Worry and Thomas, would you really cut those two? I wouldn't, especially now with the Patriots looking for a tight end. Definitely don't want that to come and bite you in the butt. So I would keep all 4 tight ends and make cuts somewhere else.
Aaron Wilson?
Hey, Tim. When you look at some of the new additions, what do you see specifically in terms of some of the things they bring to the table in David Johnson, Brandon Cooks, and Randall Cobb? If you could kind of just give us a little thumbnail on each guy and also the offensive players that you drafted.
Yeah, sure. Well, with the guys that are drafted, obviously, they're here putting in their work. Just trying to catch up. They're so far behind, and it's not their fault. They're just rookies. They're so far behind the vets right now that they're doing what they can, meeting extra with position coaches, meeting extra with one another to try and close the gap between them and the vets. So they're doing a good job as far as that's concerned. With the new players that are in the room, all of them to a T have been great professionals. They come in. It's been great. Communication between everybody, kind of talking about what they see, talking about how they've treated things in the past in different places. And again, this setting, this medium that we're using has really allowed people to open up the lines of communication. And it's been great. From David to Randall to Brandon, they've all come in and made contributions in terms of how they've seen things, in terms of what they like. It's really been an interesting thing to kind of take part of, especially with this unique circumstance we have with it doing it all virtually.
So there you go. They don't expect any rookie to really, especially on offense, to make any impact on this team unless given an injury and they really need one. So I expect if Simmons is not going to be a return guy and the coach is not going to be a return guy, those 2 guys will probably be hitting the practice team because. You need to make space for your 53, and if you're not going to use those 2 wide receivers, and you already have Fuller, you already have Cobb, you already have Stills, you already have Cooks, you have Kiki QT 5, and you got DeAndre Carter. You're already carrying 6 wide receivers. So unless DeAndre Carter loses his return, I don't to be our return man. I don't see anyone else really coming into that wide receiver group and getting any play this year. So another reason why I was like, why did we draft this guy in the 5th round? I don't get it, man.
Adam Hustler?
Hey, Tim, do you think Fuller and Stills and maybe now even Cooks can play inside and on the outside? And this question seems almost obvious, but the excitement level that you've gotten from Deshaun about working with this new group and kind of unleashing a new look offense with you and everybody that's there now.
Yeah.
Now here's where things get quite interesting because they asked him about his excitement, what Deshaun Watson's excitement is, and they actually asked him this 3 times in this whole press conference, and his first answer is that Deshaun Watson's excited. Then he kind of backtracks that. So
I think Deshaun's excited. I don't want to speak for him, but with the communication that we've had. These however many days throughout this virtual off season, he's come in with a great mindset, coming in trying to get better in some areas and really take grasp of the offense. So he's doing a great job as far as that's concerned. And then obviously there's versatility that goes along with playing that wide receiver position and being able to play inside and outside and do some different things and have a diversified route tree. It's all things that are going to help us basically take the next step here as an offense.
Talks about taking the next step as an offense, having a diversified route tree. That means that they're going to spread the ball. That means they're going to have very, very different routes, plenty of different routes. And we hopefully don't see as many screens, unless it's going to be a fake screen and you kick it off to Stills like you did against the Chiefs. I'm all for that type of play. But man, reversals with Fuller, I don't want to see any of that. You got all this talent. Spread the damn ball, whether it's 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end sets, whether it's 4 wide receivers with a running back. set, whatever it is, just spread the ball because now you have the speed. Now you have the ability to go everywhere, right? So now we want to see it. Don't let it all be all about talk. We want to see about that action, boss.
Tim, you have Duke Johnson now coming in the second year in the offense. I know he got late. He was here late last year in the camp. Now David Johnson. Can you speak on how important it is now to have backs where you possibly have on all three downs a running threat and a pass catching threat, and what that does for an offense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it opens up, the play calling. Obviously, you're not limited by a guy's ability to only run the ball or only catch the ball. When you have guys that are versatile.
Shots fired. You're not limited by a guy only be able to run or catch. As you guys know, there wasn't many throws to Carlos Hyde. Shoot, the one throw we gave Carlos Hyde, he almost fumbled it against the Bills. Came back and actually, made up for it. But shots fired or what?
Are both, vital running threat, a good receiving threat. It allows you to open up and be creative and find different ways to get guys the ball in space and do some good things. So, we're excited to have both those guys back there, especially with Duke. This is the first offseason that Duke's going through. It's the first offseason with us that Laramie's going through. It's the first offseason with us that Kenny's going through. So, a lot of this stuff that we're covering right now, it's the first time they're really being able to kind of hear it in depth, and it's really, really good.
So what he's saying is, technically, we weren't able to use, not Laremy Tunsil, obviously he was the left tackle, but learning on offense, I guess, certain play callers that they weren't able to do because maybe Laremy Tunsil didn't know how to, run block or maybe get up stream, or maybe some of the audibles of Deshaun Watson, Laramie didn't know. Now, I did see some of that in week one for sure. Kenny Stills, I still think he had a great year. I definitely think that they didn't use him as much. And when it came to Duke Johnson, definitely did not use Duke Johnson enough. And in that Bills game, man, he was helping the heck out of us. I mean, that conversion that he had, I want to say it was maybe 3rd down and 18, man. And he had that conversion. I mean, that was vital. That was vital to us winning that game. So, yeah, man.
So when you look at Laramie and the fact that now that he just acquired you guys right before the season, kind of thrown in, how much better do you feel like he can play even now that he has more of a comfort level with the offense? And I wanted to see if you had a chance to talk with Will Fuller as he keeps working and rehabbing and how he's doing, and just kind of as he tries to get back to full strength.
Yeah, and all the conversations I've had with Will have been encouraging. So, he's been good in the meeting room. He's been great with the position coach, John Perry. So we're encouraged by that. And as far as Laramie, him being here for the off season is going to be very beneficial. But again, more importantly, when we all get together and him being able to get those training camp reps, those reps with the offensive line with Max and things like that are you cannot. I can't stress how important those are for an offensive line to be able to kind of come together and play as one. And so it's a good thing that we have all 5 of those guys coming back.
And it is for all of those 5 guys to actually come back, especially our right tackle Titus Howard, who definitely solidified himself on the right side of the line. Definitely was impactful in that Chiefs game. And look, Laramie, he needs to improve on those false starts. Let's be honest. And apparently from what he's saying, that comes with his communication with Max Sharping at left guard. So I guess that's good that he's going to have an offseason to truly, really learn. But I don't forget that they said that the play calling and the terminology was similar to something he had in Miami before. So, I'm not going to give him complete slack out of it, but I do know he definitely has to improve because some of the false starts that he had last year were in very critical moments, and it definitely came and bite us in the ass. As far as Will Fuller, man, I've been seeing Will Fuller put in major work, man, really, really working out that soft tissue, really, really trying to strengthen his legs, man, and I hope it pays off for him, and I really, truly do hope we see a full, healthy season for Will Fuller. Because he deserves it. And on top of that, it is, I believe, his contract year. So much drama to come with that. I don't know if they're willing to pay him. I don't really know if Will Fuller is looking for the bag or he understands his injuries, have basically derailed that price down. But yeah, man, things to come for sure.
Hey Tim, when you watch Deshaun on tape, what are some of the areas where you guys, from a coaching standpoint, want to see him improve as a quarterback? And I know that earlier you said that you guys were already in close communication even last year, but as the play caller, does the communication and the relationship with Deshaun have to develop even more for you guys to be successful?
Sure, I think you always, as you're calling plays or you're part of the play calling process, you want to make sure that you're seeing the game through the same really set of eyes as the quarterback, that you're all on the same page, that you all have the same vision of the play when the play gets called. That's something where as we continue to grow, that's going to be important. And yeah, there's things that Deshaun needs to get better at, and as all of us need to improve on. So we talked about that with him. Coming out and being consistent and playing at that, he set the bar so high. So it's really a challenge for him to be able to play at that level, every time he steps on the field.
And we're almost done here, but yeah, I mean, that's very true. I mean, there's not much that Deshaun Watson needs adjusting to, right? Obviously, sometimes he holds the ball more than he should, but when you examine the times that he's holding the ball, it's times where you need to make plays. And so I don't blame him all on that, but he can definitely improve. And I think from what Tim Kelly is saying here, they're going to improve because they're going to allow him to spread the ball and count on checkdowns and do intermediate routes, do short routes, do deep balls. And so those are things that obviously will help Deshaun Watson as long as he's trusting his wide receivers. And that's another piece, like I said, that we yet are to see, because that trusting factor, it's big. I predict that early on he'll be eyeing Fuller, he'll be eyeing Kenny Stills, he'll probably be eyeing QT often, probably Duke Johnson out of the backfield, and then slowly but surely be trusting on Brandin Cooks, be trusting on Randall Cobb. And look, those are two gentlemen that know how to earn the quarterback's trust, and they got to go out there and do it, right? Brandin Cooks, you got to stay healthy. You can't take no more concussions. You got to be that deep threat, that true deep threat, so things that we are yet to see, obviously. But, man, when it comes to Tim Kelly, I like all the slick questions that they're asking him, because they're kind of basically saying, like, bro, do you have control? Are you truly going to play call like you say you're going to, or are we still going to see some of the same? And so all that, to me, I still think falls down on Bill O'Brien, because ultimately he's the head coach, he's the general manager, he's the guy who's going to come down and say, no, I don't like what you're calling, and I'm going to freaking take over. And like I mentioned before, I don't necessarily hate O'Brien's play calling. There has been play calling and games where he's had great play calling games, like we saw against the Chiefs. But then you've seen things like you saw against Denver and you saw against the Ravens, where we couldn't get anything going on offense, and you're just like, what the hell? What's going on? And that's the wrap for that interview, man. What I get from Tim Kelly, he wants to spread the ball. He wants to count on every offensive weapon. And I think that's why he goes to name drop Stevie Mitchell, as, what he's saying is, look, kind of like what Weaver said, right? When Weaver said he's going to blitz and you're not going to know where it's coming from, you're not going to know who's going to be dropping in coverage. I guess that's what Tim Kelly is trying to do on offense, right? You don't know that even though Brandin Cooks is running a 9, that Deshaun Watson is going to throw it to Brandin Cooks. He could just, dump it out to Duke Johnson while everyone's sitting back and cushion and prevent defense. He's just going to eat all that yardage, or David Johnson's going to eat all that yardage, or Randall Cobb, or QT in the slot, or any of our tight ends, right? So, yeah, man, I mean, like I said, it's all good. I think we've seen it in paper, right? We see the potential that this Texans offense has. Now we just got to see it. And it comes down to what he pointed out, consistency. Consistency with the play calling, consistency with the quarterback, consistency with the line, consistency with the wide receivers, consistency especially with the offensive line and the penalties, right? Making sure that we not are getting any of those penalties and that we're not hurting the team in yardage. And if we can do that, I think that we can, at the very, very least, have a middle-of-the-pack type offense. And if you get a middle-of-the-pack type offense and you get a top 10 defense, it could definitely combust to be a very explosive team. And you could very well go and do a deep run. But I think this is what everyone hangs their hat on, no pun intended. What is Bill O'Brien going to do this year, right? Every year it's been something with Bill O'Brien. In 2018, it was the fact that you as a coach and a general manager that you had there with Brian Game, you didn't have this team prepared. You had injuries on the defensive side, you had injuries on the offensive side, and even the people that you brought in, like Demaryius Thomas, goes down with an injury. And when you come down to play the Colts, you were just depleted, had basically nothing. And at the end of the day, you had DeAndre Hopkins out there with broken ribs playing. So those are the things that you as a head coach need to learn from. I think he did, right? Last year, he obviously learned from that. He didn't wait until the off season. He went and got what he wanted, whether it was Conley, whether it was Hargraves. And, you know, same thing now with the wide receivers. He's now gone and got what he has wanted. But at the end of the day, it's what Bill O'Brien has wanted, what he thinks is going to bring a championship to this team. So at the end of the day, you are the only one that's going to be held accountable. At the end of the season, I don't want to hear nothing about, oh, it was on Tim Kelly and his play calling, because we're gonna know very soon, and we're gonna know by the end of the season whether Tim Kelly truly did call the whole season, or it was Bill O'Brien getting involved again, not being able to delegate. And I think that's one of his traits that he definitely could use to improve on. And you know, I think he's improving from season to season. Unfortunately, though, we don't have the time. You don't have a rookie quarterback right now. You have a quarterback who's looking to get paid. And I heard this today. Look at what happened to the Seahawks when they paid Russell Wilson. You just can't afford all the pieces around them. So you got to make a splash when you can. And I think that's what they've done this year. Honestly, they're going all in. I know they said that they were going all in last year, and it definitely looked that way. But I think this year they're definitely going all in, especially if we see certain moves coming these next following weeks, whether it's adding another offensive line, whether it's adding another safety or another corner, whatever move that is, you can definitely tell that they're all in. And it's like you have to, because once you decide to give Deshaun Watson his contract, it's not that it's not earned, right? You won't be able to pay everybody, right? So yeah, man, they definitely need to take advantage of what they have at their in their armory this year, and hopefully they can do that. But anyways, man, you guys take it easy. You guys enjoy this weekend. Don't forget to keep in remembrance, man, all the fallen soldiers and all the soldiers who have served. As you guys know, it is Memorial Day on Monday, man. And look, man, freedom is not free, right? Freedom is not free, man. So, but anyways, man, you guys take it easy. You guys get some rest. Enjoy this video. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and ring that bell to make sure you get a notification every time that I do post. I'm not sure if tomorrow we'll be going live or we'll be recording a video. I'll definitely give you guys the details on that. But you guys take it easy. H-Town, baby. Let's get it.